Hey guys, welcome to Bible Fun with the Dunns. Today we are reading Judges chapter 5.
All right, let's get started. So today we're still on location. This is Bible Fun with the Dunns from the beach. We took a couple of days and we're just here. The boys look like they just got back from the beach, so they're not ready for all this. So you got the JV squad today, but we're going to try to make it work for you.
And let's be honest, we probably have enough to say, just the two of us.
Yeah, of course. Sure. To understand Judges 5, you have to understand Judges 4. In Judges 4, a judge named Deborah gets together with another Israelite general, and his name is, oh my gosh, his name is Barak. Mm-hmm. Okay, see, you gotta piece it together sometimes. And they fought against a king named Jabin and his general named Sisera. By the end of that story, God had given his people deliverance and victory. So the opening of chapter 5 is just the celebration of all that God has done, but not just here. Remember that everything Deborah is talking about in this story is recapping all the way through the Judges. Now, before Jenny gives her takeaway, I want you to just notice this. In verse number 1, it says, "Then Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, sang on that day, saying," all right, now listen. Who's mentioned first? Deborah. So Deborah, the judge, is mentioned before the general who actually won the battle. And this is important. Why? Because they're telling kind of where the oomph came, the power came to win this battle. It was not in the might of a general. It was in the being sent from the Lord. Another piece to this is, as you read through this story, you're going to find like verse number 10. It says, "Speak, you who ride on white donkeys, who sit in judges' attire, and who walk along the road." Now listen, that's just poetic stuff. The people who ride on donkeys were rich people. And the richest class rode white donkeys. So this is the top of the ladder. "Speak, you who ride on donkeys." That's the wealthy. Then, who sit in judges' attire. That's a judge, that's influence. And then those who walk on the road, okay? So if they're not riding anything and they're walking, they're the poor. So from top of society to the bottom of society, everybody needs to listen to what happens here. Now we're going to kind of circle back to this in just a second. Jen, what was your takeaway?
Well, I have been reading a book that has been pretty life-changing to me. It's called 1,000 Gifts. And it just is a good reminder of us to thank God, telling us to thank God, to open our eyes up to what he's doing around us already. And what I love about this passage right here is it said later that day, like immediately after they had this victory, they got together. And, you know, when you experience something together, you like to recap it at the end and talk about how you saw it from your perspective. So I thought that was cool what they're doing in this song. But my very favorite thing that they are doing is they're so quick to thank God. Yes, God used Deborah. Yes, God used Barak. Yes, God used Jael. But ultimately, God is the one who gave the victory. And they're quick to point to him and to say that. In this book that I'm reading, the author, Ann Voskamp, talks about how we are so quick to accept from God's hand all of his good things. To the point where we don't even recognize them sometimes. Just good days, blessings, health, things that are going on. But when things that we perceive as not so good things, when those come from God's hand, we want to say, hold on. And then all of a sudden we have something to say about it. And so it's so important for us to open our eyes up to what God is doing every single day and the gifts that he gives every single day. And a passage I actually read today kind of talks about this idea. She says, "I know Eucharist Deo, the act of giving thanks to God. I know Eucharist Deo and the miracle, but I'm not a woman who ever lives the full knowing. I'm a wandering Israelite." This reminded me of what we've been reading about the Israelites through Judges. "I'm a wandering Israelite who sees the flame in the sky above, the pillar, the smoke from the mountain, the earth open up and give way, and still I forget. I'm beset by chronic soul amnesia. I'm empty of truth and need the refilling. I need come again every day, bend, clutch, and remember For who can gather the manna but once, hoarding and store away sustenance in the mind for all of the living? She's talking about how quick we are to forgive. The Israelites are so quick to forget. And I think that's the song repeats the history just in what we've been reading in Judges. She also quotes another author in the beginning of this chapter, and it says, every time you feel in God's creatures something pleasing and attractive, do not let your attention be arrested by them alone, but passing them by, transfer your thoughts to God and say, oh my God, if thy creations are so full of beauty, delight, and joy, how much more full of beauty, delight, and joy can you be, creator of all? And so that's my takeaway. I'm proud of them in this moment because this is not their history usually, but they want to take this time to praise and thank and worship God for this victory. And so I like this chapter.
Yeah. A couple of things I noticed in this chapter that probably would help us is remember that during this time period, they didn't have anything but the first 5 books of the Bible: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And they probably only had very few copies of that, and they were probably kept at the tabernacle. So the average person didn't have a Bible, and the story of Judges was probably written down later by Samuel. So when Deborah and Barak sing this song, they're authoring this song before Samuel authored the book of Judges. And the reason why they're doing it in song is because when people don't have something that they could read, you know what they can easily remember? A song. And so she's giving the history of Israel through song in this moment because they've just experienced a great victory from the Lord, but she's going all the way back. She goes, hey, but don't forget, this isn't just one time God has done this. He's got a track record of always helping us. And so she's trying to help them communicate, to pass down, in case they haven't heard, this is who God is. And I love that. I also love that towards the end, remember, Deborah had told Barak at the beginning that when the battle was over, he wouldn't get the glory, that a woman would get it. And it ended up being Jael. And so from verses 24 to 27 in this chapter is talking about her. Most blessed among the women is Jael, the wife of Eber the Kenite. Blessed is she among women in tents. He asked for water, and she gave milk, and she brought out cream in a lordly bowl. And she stretched out her hand to the tent peg, and her right hand to the hammer. And she pounded Sisera, pierced his head. I mean, she killed him. Here's what I like about this story. The battle had happened prior to this. And Jael did not fight on the front lines with the army. But you know where she did fight? In her own place. See, everybody has a place. Jael had one. It wasn't on the front lines. It wasn't with the general. She had her own place, and it was at home. But she won that battle as much as anybody else. Can I just remind you 2 things as we're reading through this particular chapter? Number 1 is we have a rich history and heritage that ought to tell us we can thank God for every single thing because he is good and his mercy endures forever. Number 2 is this. In this world, all of us have a part to play in God's kingdom. We all have a place. We all have a spot where we ought to be serving. And sometimes it's on the front lines and sometimes it's at home. But listen, all of us have a spot. So wherever your spot is, be grateful to God and be faithful in his service. Have a great day. We'll see you later.
Bye.